Hello everyone, you're welcome to this video. In the last class, I showed you how to create animation with a single project. Today, I'm going to explain the Storyboard editor mode and how you can create your animation from Storyboard. So here in Sketchframes, I'm going to click Create New Storyboard. Like you can see that we have the interface. This is where you create your storyboard. Before we begin, what exactly is a storyboard? A storyboard was initially used by Walt Disney around 1930s, and these were simply paper pinned to a board that had drawings that helped map out the story before they actually went into production. And the storyboard essentially just plans out your animation or film before you actually start creating the visuals. And it's very important because it helps save a lot of time, and storyboards are supposed to be simple in my opinion, and that was the invention ever since it began. So they are simply just, scraps of paper on a board, and they can easily be arranged and adjusted as aliasing. So Sketchframes was created with this in mind to create the most basic and useful workflow for creating storyboards. And I feel like this is what professionals really use when planning out their shots. They just want effective boards, effective panels, and that's what we have here. So you can imagine this as a giant board, and we have the piece of paper that have been strapped to a board, and each of these are piece of paper that you can draw on. So the interface is quite simple. You have your panels here, and you can draw on your panel. You can draw how you like, as freely as you want. And then you have more panels. You can click this to add in your panel, and you just keep adding panels. And you can draw on the next panel as well. So you have that liberty to create it panel by panel. Pardon the terrible drawings, but that's how you pretty much do it. And you can see the panel number on this part of the screen. And then of course, each panel you can actually describe what's going on. Maybe we can say opening shot and write the dialogue and everything else that you want to indicate. So it's supposed to be very simple and effective, and that's pretty much what the storyboard is in essence. I'm going to walk you through the other tools and how you make more effective art with this, but it's supposed to be very simple. This is as simple as you can get. This first panel, and maybe in this panel we're gonna have like this, and then maybe the second panel we have like this, and the third panel we have a character, maybe like this. Pardon terrible drawings, right? So when we have this, we can easily adjust the panel order. We can drag this. If we want this to be the first, we just click this option here, and then we can move any panel around. So I can click this and drag this here, and that becomes the first panel. And you can see now the first one has become the second, and you can just keep adjusting like that. You can also just once you're done, you can click any other tool, and that brings it back to the normal drawing work. So it's supposed to be very easy to navigate this storyboard mode, because there are just very few options that are available to you, but they are very useful and they are very targeted on the actual animation pipeline. So now you can see that we have this little bit of look around to show you what some of these things do in the interface. You can see that we have the drawing tool here, just like the last video. We have a pencil, we have eraser, and then we also have some other tools for adding audio, and then we have the background. We can remove the background or change the color of the background for all shots. And also change the stroke color, the size of the brush, opacity, and then this option here, there are more tools like the fill and the lasso tool, more selection tool. So we also have this option here. This option, this one right here, this disables the extra text for each panel, and then this one here can adjust the zoom size, so you can view more or less shots per row, right? And we could add more panels, and then you can see how we can play around with this. Okay, and then this option to add logo, you can simply select this and then pick your brand logo. So whenever you export anything here, it exports with that logo. That's useful for branding. And then we have our able export and our save options, and then the exit goes back to the home page. We also have the undo and redo button, and then we also have the breakdown tool. I'm going to explain this very soon, but now you can see that it's very simple. The last thing here is the timeline option. Now you might not see it right now, but there is actually a timeline in the storyboard mode, and that also helps us to adjust and move around. So before I show you the timeline options, I'm going to explain the breakdown tool. So you can see now that when we created our very rough shots for our storyboard, we just drew them directly in the software, right? You could also use shots you've drawn or sketches from another place. Maybe use Photoshop or use another drawing software, or even it's something you drew on Sketchpad, you can also import it right here, and it's going to populate in this storyboard. So let's open this up to see the options we have. We have storyboard from a file, so you can import an image file, either an export from a software or an actual drawing that you took with your camera on your phone, and then you can bring it into Sketchframes. So let's look at this option. The second one is camera. This one you can open up your camera that you have assigned, and then it's going to use that live camera feature. Then you can take a picture, and once you do that, it's going to import that as storyboard shot. It's going to automatically break it down for you. And then we have a last option, which is from a video. This is useful for studying animation, right? And you can also import this from video. So let's try the first option. So we have this example for Radio Adventures by Dr. Floyd. You can see that we have opened up the storyboard breakdown shot tool, and we have several options. We have the simple and the advanced. So what we're simply going to do now is that we're going to import this. By default, this imports based on a setting breakdown. So let's change over the color so it's a bit more clear. I'm going to click this and use red. So you could see that what it does is that it breaks down the drawing for us, and you can click any of these handles to adjust them. So we're going to see how many columns do we have. Probably want to add more rows, to increase rows, so we can have this, and then we'll divide it right here, right? So we have this. So with this option enabled, this is for the columns and for the rows. You're just going to adjust this based on how many columns and rows you have in your own shot. This example, it will create 6 new panels. So that's what this is going to do. And with the advanced option, you can actually adjust some anchor points here, edges. So if maybe you have a non-uniform storyboard, maybe you drew it on piece of paper and it's a bit rugged on the edges, you can pretty much adjust some of these around to give you that flexibility. So if you do tap this, and then once you're done, you can pretty much just press splice and export on a new place. And now you could see that we have the storyboard right here. One thing to note though is that when you import a storyboard in this software, it's not going to replace the current storyboards that were actually there. What it's going to do is that it's going to add it after the last selected panel. So in this case, this was the last selected panel, so it added it after this. So you can see now how we have all of these panels right here. And of course, I can still come back and draw over it if I want, make changes, and just keep adjusting. So when you have your storyboard, you can pretty much do this. And also, how do you delete? So to delete storyboard panels, you just select them, and then you can just press delete right here, or you could select multiple and delete them. So I'm going to delete all of these 3. So you select multiple by holding Control or Command, and then you click delete. So let's try an example. Let's also come here and then click the breakdown on front. So this is a very interesting trick. So let's click this as another example. Let's change the color to something more visible, like red. So now you can see that we have this. I'm going to increase we have more rows in this example. So yeah, this is pretty okay, cool. So this is obviously what we want, right? So now you can see that this also works as well. Click fast and place, and it imports it right here. So we can play around with our storyboard. We can control more stuff there. Maybe change the color red and maybe do this. So this gives us the flexibility to import from a file. And sometimes when you are trying to import, you might not want certain spaces. So there's workaround you can actually do, which is create additional rows and columns. So let's say we come here and we select this. So instead of just using this, we can actually have more rows. So maybe we'll have rows, and maybe this row is going to be for this region, because we want to cut out this region. Maybe we'll have one for this and maybe one for this, as an example. Let's say we don't want the upper part of that space. Same thing for the columns as well. Well, let's just use this as an example. So I just want to cut out this part. I don't want this extra part here. So okay, press slice, and you can see that it actually created it. And these are the additional ones that were the additional space rather. So I'm just going to select these and delete them, and you have a cleaner sort of storyboard. So this was imported from just the file. So you can export your storyboard from any software or Sketchpad, and then you just use that. Same thing for the camera. It's going to enable the camera, and that's going to also give us the option to take a picture of our drawing and then import that. Let's also look at the video option. So for example, we have this saying shorts. Let's say we open it up. It's going to ask us how we're going to do this, right? So Very, very simple. Before we go too far, you can see that we have this interface here. Now some quick shortcuts. If you press spacebar, it's going to play, and then press spacebar again, it's going to pause. If you press left and right, it's going to skip frame by frame. Then if you press enter, it's going to create a new shot. So by default, the first panel is going to be the first shot, which we already have here. So let's say I press spacebar and maybe let's start around here. So this is the next panel, for example. I press this, I press enter. So we already saw that as panel. Next one maybe here. Next panel and next panel, for example. Maybe this is the last panel. So just pressing those keys created all of these 5 shots. So obviously you can see how powerful this is actually going to be, because you can use this to store the animation frame by frame and then save specific shots as image files, or if you just use them as a storyboard breakdown tool. So if you go to the more settings, you can see that we have the option to extract the audio track. That's going to extract the audio track and put it in our timeline. And then we also have this video fits. So you want to fit to the canvas area or overscan area. That depends on you. And then lastly, we have the option to extract only the first frame. So it's going to extract. If I press up and down, it's going to skip through all of the shots. So it's going to only extract these first frames, right, by default. So it's going to create about 5 panels for us with just 5 joints. But if you want to select second option, which is extract every frame, so it's going to extract every single frame from each panel to the next panel, and that's going to give it motion, which is what you might want, right? But for now, I think it's pretty fine. So we can extract from different video files. So imagine you have a long movie and you want to extract it shot by shot, so you can simply do that here. So let's slice and project. So you can see that we also have this right here. So these are ways that you can actually create storyboard panels in Sketchframes. So let's explore the timeline. Timeline is right here. If you click this option, it's going to bring up your timeline, and you can see that we have all of our panels. Everything is here. Just like before, timeline is pretty much the same. If you press the up and down, it's going to skip to the next panel. Then if you press left and right, it's going to skip frame by frame. And then of course, to actually view what's in your panels, to play it back, you can just press play button. That's going to play it. And then of course you can adjust the duration of each panel. You can drag this to reduce the duration of maybe panel 1, maybe panel 2. So you can plan out your shots and give it a specific duration before you even start animating. So you can see the actual frames. This is the current frame for that shot, and then you could see that here we have the total number of frames in our project, and then this one shows actual seconds for each shot, 5 seconds, 18 frames for this shot. And then like I said, this one shows you the actual frames of our project, so you can see that we have everything that we need, and we have the shot number also here. And then if you want to disable these options, you can just click this. That's going to disable every other option, and you just only see the animatics as they are. So you can play around with everything. You can adjust the duration of your shots before you even start animating, and that's the power of Sketchframes. You can plan out your scene from beginning to end. Alright, cool. So that's what you do. You also have everything we were explaining in the last class is pretty much the same thing here. You can right click and you can change the shot duration if you want. So in Sketchframes, we also have the feature where we can add in audio. So we have an audio track right here. So let's say we want to add audio for this shot. You can see here that we have this, and which is to the radio, for example. Right, so we can actually record an audio straight here, maybe a temporary audio or the actual audio from the production. So audio tools, import or record. So I can import an actual background music or an audio file. Or I can just record my temporary audio now. So we just do quick example, allow, and it reaches to the radio, right? Playback. You might not hear that, but that's playing back correctly. And that's going to save my audio file here. And I can have multiple audio files stacked up on each other. I can have multiple tracks down here. So you can plan out your scene. Everything can be done in Sketchframes. So let's say we have everything planned out and we're pretty much okay. So let's tidy up our animation. Let's tidy it up. Maybe I don't want all of these shots here, so I can just hold shift in the first and then the last and then just press delete. That's going to help me to select multiple shots at the same time. So maybe I don't want this. Let's say we're okay with it, right? So how do we convert this to an animatic to actually start developing further in Sketchframes? So the same same tool we'll be using to select. We use the animatic tool. This tool helps us to convert panels to animatic shots that we can enter into and edit further. So there are two ways of converting panels to animatic shots. The first one is normally when you have like a panel, for example, we have this, let's see here, we have this panel where it's just one character doing something. This is going to be a full panel, right? In animation, this is a full shot where they are just driving, for example. But what if we have a shot where it's like an action progression, right? So they are like two panels for one shot. For example, this one here, let's just do this first one. So let's say we have him, the character is just standing there. I can select this and convert it to an animatic shot. So if I have one selected, I just click convert selected. I'm not going to convert that to an animatic, and I can open up this and play around with it further. So you can see that we have every tool that was explained previously. So I can come here and reduce opacity and then actually create a new layer, and then I can further develop this into the actual shots that I want for my scene, and then even start like animating it. Maybe come here, then we have him maybe looking like this, or he's still holding this. I can do my animatic right here, and then I can still go back to the storyboard and everything remains the same. And of course, I can always readjust my position of this panel. I can maybe drag this and drop this here and still have full control of my animation. So not only does this help us create plan animation, it helps us stay organized and so easily readjust it in a production pipeline. So let's look at this kind of shot where we have like the character doing something in two different panels, but it's the same shot. So how do you do that? It's quite simple as well. You select the two of them. Once you do that, pressing Control, once you press Convert selected, it's going to convert these to one shot. So the short shot you want to be one per se. You're going to select the two of them or how many they are, and then you're going to press Convert selected. It's going to convert that into one shot. So if I open up my editor, you're going to see that the two are actually here. So now I can, adjust maybe my timing. If I had done my timing earlier, this would have already been done. But you can see here that I can now actually start drawing more 3D, right? I've done terrible drawings. So what you would probably do in a real production is that you would go through and select everyone that should be every double panel or multi-panel shot. You convert those first. Let's see here. So once I think that's it. And then once you're done with the multi-panels, you just come to the animatic and then you convert all. Converting all converts every one of them to an individual shot. So all of these are now animatic shots. You can see it. I can develop my script further or my idea further here. But if I want to keep the behavior of converting everything, and if I use the convert all option, maybe I actually want all of them to be in the same shot, which is very rare, but that might be the case. You can right click and you can see merge and keep timing. So when I click convert all, it's going to convert everything into one shot. But by default, that's not what you probably want to do. And then we also have the refresh thumbnails. Sometimes the thumbnails can look a bit different from the actual drawing. So you can just click this option to refresh them again, to update the way they look. So that's how you can have that much control, right? You can see, okay, maybe this is going to be my animatic, right? Of course, you could always adjust the layer size of your shot. Maybe this should be much bigger. Now we're doing actual animatic stuff. Then you're going to come here, and then you can maybe you start drawing the actual things in your scene, for example. All right, you could just begin to plan out your scene. This is a rough mouse sketch, if I may say so. Though you have some of this, maybe this, then you can have, so let's say, while we have the same line art there, if I were to use my pen field and draw like this, you can see that the field is appearing below the stroke. Now you add this option where it appears above the stroke. So be mindful of this when you're doing a quick animatic. For example, in this kind of use case, I might just use this to roughly indicate where my character is, right? And I can do that, and then begin to move around, right? For example. So I can really have that option to play around with my drawings and say, okay, maybe I actually want to have something like this. So this is just a very quick example, or just a quick play around to show you that you can use this for animatics. So I'm going to show you our examples. So all of this, very terrible drawings that we did here, they all live in this kernel or short called shot 10. And if I go back to my storyboard, you can see that it's right here. And I can go to the next shot and make my change here, make the full animation right here. And then I can simply also skip shot by shot by using these buttons here. This is going to skip the previous shot and the next shot, so I don't always have to go back to the main editor. So that's how you use all these tools. So I'm going to show you what this option is for audio scrubbing. So let's say we have our audio that we recorded before. All right, so let's see where that is. So she's reaching to the radio. And camera reaches to the radio. I can enable audio scrubbing if I close this and I right click on my mute option. You can see audio scrubbing. Enable that, and when I scroll, it's going to scrub in my storyboard mode, and if I open up a shot, it's going to also scrub. So we have audio scrubbing enabled. I can disable it if I just want to play back normally, or enable audio scrubbing. So that's how you use the storyboard tool. So like the last class, if you want to save your project, you can save it as a file or as a folder. Saving it as a file, gives you just one file. But if the project is very large, it takes more time to save. So if you have a big project, I recommend saving it as a folder. So if you save it as a folder, for example, whenever you press Ctrl, because by default when you press Ctrl S to save, it saves it as a file. But when you have saved as a folder the first time and then you press Ctrl S again, it's going to save as a folder. So it depends on which one you click from here, and then it keeps saving that continuously when you press Ctrl S. And then finally you can export. You can export as a video. We have the export option to export as a single file, or you can export every single shot individually. So it's going to export this as different video files. And that's going to be very helpful when you are doing your Loction. You can also export as PDF or GIF. So let's say we use PDF, for example. You can set how many panels you want per row. So let's say, for example, we want like 2 panels per row. We're going to click export. So it's going to download the PDF. And if I open that PDF, you're going to see that it has actually dropped that PDF right here. And everything that we did, both the description and the drawings, are all going to be in this PDF. So that could be useful for you as well when creating animation. So then the last thing we're also going to talk about now is the handoff. So sometimes you might be working on a very big project and you want to give just one panel to your animator or background artist or someone else to contribute. Sometimes you might not want to give them the full file, the full project. You might just want 1 or 2 shots and hand that over to the person. So how do you do that? So it's called a handoff. A handoff means you just export certain shot to another person, and they have access to just those shots. So in this example, let's try and hand off just the shot to our animators. We'll click export and we'll click export handoff. So it's going to ask us to select the shots that we want to hand off. I want to use this one, just this one up, and press confirm. And they're going to ask us to save our project. So I'm just going to create a folder just to stay a bit more organized. Maybe I would say handoff shot or something. So I know that it's saved here. So select. So if I go to my folder, you're going to see that we have that folder right here. So what that simply means is that now I can give this file to my animator and it's going to open up as a regular shot. So we can zip this and then email it to our animator. So let's assume this is the animator's PC and he wants to view the shots to start animating. He's also going to come here and click open folder, and then he extracts the zip file you sent. You open the folder and click select folder. And you can see now that we have just this shot here. And this is a child project because this means that this was broken up from a main project. So now our animator can see everything, the audio, and then we can open it up and start his animation, record his animation pass, for example. And now he can really start animating. We just do a very terrible drawing to demonstrate. So let's say he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna animate that shot. All right, so maybe this is the animation. Next shot, maybe he has the character blinks like so. And yeah, let's see, that's what the character just does throughout the whole shot. Save audio scrubbing. So we have maybe the girl, and then we just do a quick, very terrible drawing of the girl. Maybe we have this to demonstrate the girl, character of the girl. Maybe we have long glowing hair, and we have this very terrible drawing, but you get the idea. So let's say this is the actual character animation that was done. Alright, so then we go to save, Ctrl S. And once he's done with all the character animation, he can go back to the folder, zip it, come back here where he extracted it, he can zip everything and then send it back to me as a zip. And then me, who is the director, I can have that shot back again, so you can see that this is the old shot, nothing new has changed. Right, so for me now, I can import his change. I'll come back to quick export and then I can import handoff. And I'll just go back to my folder where I extracted his zip from my animator and then click select folder, and that's going to update. You can see that it has actually updated here. Sometimes, like I said, the thumbnail doesn't update like it should, so you might just use refresh thumbnail, but in this case it did. And now you can see that every change that was made by the animator is present in my master shot, so I didn't have to send him the whole thing, I just sent him a part of that project. So that's how you can work with many teams and create something very cohesive in Sketchframes. So for example, I have an actual project open up here, and you can see that we have already planned out the animation. We have all the storyboards done, and these are more of like the animatic shots. You can see that we have this, it opens up to character here, and we can see this one. Then we have the next shot, we have maybe a shot like this where the character is walking in. These are the shot, and it's showing me this is shot 3. This is how many frames and all, and total number of frames. And you can see, I can see it and play everything shot by shot, and I can always at any time readjust anything. Maybe I want the dark parts to probably be like here. I can simply do that, or I can bring it back here to show it right here. So I have that freedom. So when I'm done with the animatic, I can start animating or hand off my project to the animators, and then they can come in and actually draw over my video or over my animatic, and then you can see some of the drawing here and there. You can have all of these done. You can have all of these done, and you can see that we have all of this animated, and even adding the backgrounds all done right here. So right, this all lives in shot 1, and I can still decide to go back, and that's still the shot right there, shot 1. So I can do that for each shot, animate everything, put in my background, maybe for something like shot 3. You can see that we have maybe something like this. So we have maybe a character already walking in. So this is the actual animation part, and he's already here. He's already been animated. This is the actual final animation with the paint there and everything else completely done. You can see all the animation frames, and it still lives in my animatic folder. So you could see that we have that level control, and we can just keep going for all of the shots. We have maybe something like this, where we have everything animated right here. We have our temporary background. So this was animated obviously in Sketchframes, and if I go back, I can go back by clicking this, or just like I said, skipping here from shot to shot, and then I can go back to my storyboard, and I still have everything the way it looks, right? Sometimes you might need to update the thumbnail, so we just come here and click refresh thumbnails. So you can see that we have the thumbnail, and that's how we started with the storyboard, and then we have the animatic, and then we also have the final animation all in this software, right? And of course, I can also export each of these, individually to After Effects or TDA directly to my final compositing software if I use another software like After Effects. But now I have the liberty to adjust my story after I've done the animation, because they all live in a cohesive place. I can say, okay, maybe I wanted to start with this shot. I can just move this, and this is gonna start the animation, and it updates automatically. So you have that level of freedom when it comes to creating animation with Sketchframes. And one last thing that you might want to also be aware of is that you can actually copy layers from one shot to another shot. So for example, let's skip down a bit. Let's say this shot here where we have this sort of animation, right? I can copy this layer to another shot. So I can just select that layer, select all the frames I want to copy, press Ctrl C, and then it would be picture shots. I can paste that right here, and that's going to paste it in this layer here. So you might want to create a layer where that should be dropped, so it copies all the keyframes to another shot. So that will be very useful for you if you want to reuse setting keyframes. So that's how you use Sketchframes for storyboarding, animatics, and then actual animation. It's the full production pipeline. At least it helps in all of those steps. So I hope you found this very useful. In the next class, I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks. I'm especially using real world examples and use cases You can access most of our project files and example demos on our support page. So I'll see you then. Have a lovely day.